Good afternoon and welcome to Race Country. Now this is one of the real superstars of the racing world. It's best mate, 3 times a winner of the Cheltenham Gold Cup. Sadly out of action for most of this season, but we'll be seeing how he's convalescing later with his trainer Henrietta Knight.
Also today, the residents of Eastbury are drawing up plans for the annual garden fete.
Thought we could do it from sort of here over to there.
And we get in the swim of things at a horsey health farm.
The rest of Lambourne remains as frantic as ever, and none more so than one of the Valley's leading jump jockeys, Mick Fitzgerald.
The Valley of the Racehorse contains more than its fair share of picturesque villages, Childry being one of them. With its quaint cottages and thatched roofs, it exudes that quintessential English charm. It's not surprising then that more than a few of horse racing's glitterati live here, including one of the most successful jump jockeys of the current era. Mick Fitzgerald has notched up over 1,000 career wins, including the Cheltenham Gold Cup and the Grand National.
As you can see, there's plenty of memories here. Ray Millett, who was one of my favourite horses of all time, he was the one really who got me going. The painting of Seymour Business winning the King George. Caterino, a horse who won this year's Fox Hunters, one of my all-time favourites. All these horses have, you know, bring back some great memories, really. Definitely the proudest moment of my life, really, would have to be when I won the National. And one of the reasons being that I was lucky enough that then my father used to come racing with me to Liverpool all the time. And I'll never forget it. I came back after doing the wrap-up on Grandstand, and he was stood outside the weighing room waiting for me. And he just looked at me, and he just put his thumb in the air, and he just said to me, "You did it." And for me, that's definitely the proudest moment of my life.
But it's not all about the rush of adrenaline and the glamour of success. For most of us, bath time is a relaxing pleasure. For Mick, it's a daily chore.
Just about ready for cooking. Saunas, steam rooms, they're all part and parcel of my daily life, really. After I've ridden out in the mornings, I have to come back and sit in the bath for an hour and sweat 4 or 5 pounds off, and then jump into the car and head off to the races. It's become part of my life.
So it's not just the punters who lose pounds in this game. If Mick puts on any weight today, there's just no point in turning up for his job.
It's a daily process, and for me, if I don't sweat, my weight tends to just go up a little bit. It's just the way my body works, I think. When my ride's governed, I don't have to do that. I feel like a little child in a sweet shop. I feel like I've almost hitched a day off school. You know, to me, that's what it feels like, because I've got away with something.
But there's no hitching off school today. Mick's got 2 rides at a race meeting in the Midlands.
On our way to Worcester, most of our day is spent going up and down motorways to different race courses. Some tracks, you're lucky that it's only half an hour away if you're going to Newbury, but if you're going to Sedgefield or Hexham, or even if you go as far north as Newcastle, it can be up to 5 hours in a car.
Thankfully, today is a relatively short 1-hour hop.
Well, it doesn't look like there's an awful lot of rain around, which could be paramount to my rides.
Famous last words.
This is not what I want to see, rain.
Luckily for Mick, though, the rain has stayed away from Worcester Racecourse. Mick's first job is to walk the course and assess the condition of the ground. If he decides it's unsuitable, he'll advise his trainers to withdraw their horses, even at this late stage.
In the event that a horse has a strain, it means that their racing career is shortened, because most horses require a 12-month rest period after damaging a tendon. And if you feel he's a big, top-heavy horse, typical National Hunt type, you can't run them on too quick a ground, because that's when you run the risk of a strain.
And it's not just the horses that get injured if things go wrong.
I've managed to break almost every bone I've got. I actually had one of my collarbones removed. I had to have my ankle rebuilt, and they took some bone from my pelvis, put it on the bottom of my ankle, and then stuck 3 screws in it and pinned the whole thing together. It doesn't look great, but it works. I think my footballing days are over.
Got none with a bit, you know.
Yeah, another one.
In the bustle of the jockey's changing room, Mick rings his trainer with an update on the course.
Hi, Governor. I've just walked the track. In my opinion, I think it's safe. It's safe for a bumper horse, but again, same thing. I thought it was good ground. Maybe the odd quicker patch, but I don't think you can call it good to firm. I think it's genuinely good, the odd good to firm patch. But
So it's a green light for the 7:25. Just time for Mick to have another sweat.
Top man. Thanks, Matty.
Good job, thank you.
This now is the bit I do not like. I've got to sit in here for 40 minutes, try and lose 3 pounds, but it's part of your routine, so you've got to do it.
£3? That would take me weeks, not minutes. Find out later on if he manages it.
There was a reminder there for Kent Mere, Argent ou Or, and then Alikine, Raja Yoga.
This is a health farm with a difference. You can get all the usual treatments, you can get a bit of massage, you can have a chiropractor come and look at you, have laser treatment, go for a swim, do a bit of gym work, have 24-hour round-the-clock attention from dedicated professionals. But it's not for humans, it's for horses. It's North Farm Stud, just north of Lambourne on the way to Wantage. And I'm going to meet the owner, Grace Muir.
Grace has been running this horsey spa for 10 years, but it's not a pampering parlour. Her guests include horses who need nursing while they convalesce. And she and her team also break in and educate young colts and fillies. But the real growth area of North Farm Stud's business is in rehoming. Owners and trainers bring their horses here when they're either too old, not performing well enough, or simply not suited to life as a racehorse.
We haven't had one that we haven't managed to rehome, which surprises me greatly. I look at them some days and I think, who's going to have you, mate? And the next day somebody will ring up and come along, and that's just the person they want. So it's amazing, to be honest, and it never ceases to amaze me.
She's rehomed 200 horses in the past 4 years and has a full house at the moment waiting to start their new life.
You can probably tell that Bertie's not a racehorse. He's also very hungry. Let go. Bertie, let go. Bertie is here because he's a friend of a slightly less cheeky horse. Hello, beautiful. Now, Grace, this is Yeoman Sailor. What's his history?
He was bought by Jenny Pittman for his owners, who won the lottery, and Yeoman was their big purchase, and he won 4 races for them with Mark Pittman, I believe, and he came to us when he'd broken down, had a year off.
Now, when you say broken down, you mean his legs are...
Yeah, he's had a tendon injury and there's a hole in his tendon. He's had all sorts, really. He has physios, he has chiropractors, he swims, he has lasering every day.
Do you know, there are women in London who wouldn't get as much pampering as you.
And today, he's got appointments to keep. Yeoman's off to the local swimming pool. This one's been specially designed to enable a horse to exercise gently after illness or injury.
People understand the benefits of swimming to humans, but actually, swimming is not a natural thing for a horse, is it?
No, it's not. That's why I like this straight pool so much. It's been a huge help to take a bit of the weight off his legs and not have to do so much leg work.
Is it good for their breathing as well? I mean, you notice when they come down, they close their nostrils almost completely. And
Well, I think it's good for fitness generally, and Albie thinks that, I mean, he can tell me how fit this horse is from swimming him.
Albie manages the stables where 3-day event horses are trained and acts as a pool attendant when visiting horses like Yeoman come for a dip.
Some horses love swimming, like Yeoman. He's fantastic. He's an athlete and he likes and he does the job. Some others takes a while to convince them to go in. Up to now, touching wood, we never had one that said, no, thank you, we don't like this. Some others, they are useless. You know, I had an advanced horse that was fantastic. It was the best jump I ever ridden, and he was dreadful to swim. You know, he would sink completely. Each one has got a different story. The good things about the straight pull is that you know exactly what's wrong with them. So literally, by the end of our session, you know exactly how much more work you got to put into it, and you know when the horse is actually even in his muscles because it's completely straight when he's swimming.
Water jets create a strong current that Yeoman has to work hard to swim against.
Well, this is his last go. He's done 21 lengths now. This is the 22nd, so he's pretty tired. And the jets are working against him, so this middle section is where he really has to push it. Come on, Yo-Yo, last one. Good boy.
See, he gets shaky.
Yeah, look, you can really see it here.
Yeah, you know
how much he's worked. Look at this. Oh!
So now he'll go into the solarium.
Into the solarium, right? So he doesn't just get scraped off and have a cooler chucked over him. Oh no. Into the solarium.
If you feel his legs now after that, there's a huge difference, and they stay like that.
And what do you think Yo-Yo's story proves?
He was a good horse anyway, but it proves that with patience and time they can come back and do great things, and let's hope he goes on for a lot longer. Even if he can only run 4 times a year, in good races it's worth it. And I just do feel if people were a bit more patient and had more money, because it's proved that as well, you know, these good horses can carry on a long time.
A mile away from Lambourne in the peaceful village of Eastbury, the annual Garden Fete is in its final stages of planning.
And what happens if it's wet weather? Are we going to have everybody in the kitchen as we did last time?
Well, we could. It's up to you. The elderly people, anyway. The young, I think, can go in the tents, because there's one down here and there's one up in the field, so I think that'd be okay.
This year, the fete is being hosted by Alison and Johnny Macready in the ample grounds of Eastbury House.
How long is the tug of war going to last for?
I don't know. I'm not quite sure, to be honest. It depends whether how strong the boys are and whether they keep going. Pulling and heaving and shoving and whatever they do in the tug of war.
The secret will be to keep them off the beer, otherwise they'll all fall over.
Well, the Eastbury Fete is usually held in a garden. That's what we quite like here. Makes it slightly different from doing it in village halls or whatever. And it seems to sort of lend itself quite well to a fete.
With only a few days to go, committee member Fiona Drake has come to help with final preparations.
The beer tent's going to be over there. Right. Okay, and so... And what are we actually going to have? Just beer and squashes?
Beer and wine, it was suggested,
and wine,
yes.
No, well, basically the weather's
squashes,
hot. Yeah. Pims would be too difficult, I suppose.
Well, we could do pims if you felt like it. It would be fantastic if it's a lovely day.
It'd be more fun, I think, rather than wine or beer, to have pims or beer. Just keep it very simple.
Why don't we have beer and pims? Yeah. This year we're doing new things. We've got, as usual, the dog show, which is always our main event. But this year we're also having terrier racing. But that's to use other dogs as well. You don't have to have a terrier. Terrier racing is going to go all the way along there, and we've got a natural boundary of the fence, which is great.
Yes, that works really well.
And they've got a good long sweep that they can race down. And then dog show sort of here.
Yes, with egg throwing alongside it.
Egg throwing alongside it, which could be very exciting.
And then you've got Christmas tree throwing as well.
Christmas tree throwing, I thought we could do it from sort of here over to there, and hopefully miss the tennis court.
It's clear that games are going to be a major part of the fete, but it's important that the organisers don't end up with egg on their faces.
How far does an egg go when you throw it?
I don't know. I mean,
further than a Christmas tree, I think.
No, you can't take it too far, otherwise it really will break. I remember doing it before, and it didn't go too far.
Do you not want it to break? I'm not very clear on egg throwing.
Yes, eventually. We hope to have about 200 to 300 people. I mean, if it's a lovely day, more people will come. It's just a good afternoon out for the village people and, you know, for the locals in the valley. Simon, we're just going down to the village for a second to go and put some flyers out. Always get it wrong. I was wondering if you could put one of those posters up there so that when people come into the services, especially over this next week.
Sunday school.
Well, this is what the whole fete is all about, is trying to mend the roof and mend the internal structure of the church. I mean, it's flaking away slightly, but the main point at the moment is we just need nearly 20,000 just to do the north face of the
Like
roof.
most churches, it costs about 6,000 a year to keep the church open, with what we have to pay for ordinary maintenance and parish share and electricity. But then when you have something go wrong and it's another 20,000, and you're a village with 130 homes, it's an awful lot to find.
Find out later if the planning and posters pull in the punters.
Earlier in the series, we were following a group of farriers, and one in particular, Joel, was studying for his diploma exam. So, you're looking bleary-eyed. Does that mean you were drinking in celebration?
Celebrations were at utmost last night. I had a good night, very happy, so not feeling very well this morning, but it was worth it.
So you passed, you have a future?
I have a future. I'm now a fully qualified farrier.
What happens now, then?
Now I can earn some money and actually enjoy myself.
As far as the exams themselves went, did you find it difficult?
Very difficult indeed. I've never been too hot on my written papers. Pen and paper and me don't go together very well at all. I'm quite good at my practical, I must say. I enjoy shoemaking and stuff like that. But on the day in the forge, it was 42 degrees inside the forge, so people were close to passing out and collapsing because it was so hot. But we got there in the end.
You have. And now you can look forward to a life of hard work and hard earning.
Yeah, tell me about it.
10 miles from Lambourne on the Oxfordshire border is West Lockinge Farm. Among the menagerie of animals, there's a real superstar. Best Mate is the only horse since Arkle in the 60s to win the Cheltenham Gold Cup in 3 consecutive years. As well as being an exceptional athlete, Best Mate has won the hearts of racing fans the world over.
And Her Majesty the Queen has seen something special here. Best Mate and Jim Cullity win again.
This morning, lucky winners of a national competition have arrived to meet their hero in the flesh. They're guests of Best Mate's trainer Henrietta Knight and his owner Jim Lewis.
It's extraordinary, really, that any horse can capture the imagination of the people like he has. I suppose there is something about his countenance and about the very way he conducts himself. He loves people. He loves an audience. And if people come and see him or watch him at the racecourse, in his races, walking around the paddock, he is a horse that loves attention and he thrives on it. And of course that's very endearing to his fans because they obviously think it's sort of a two-way process.
Matey, come here.
Even more handsome than on the racecourse, I think.
Yeah, you don't get respect for what they're like to.
It must be special, he got a gold chain.
Yeah.
Right, everybody in.
I think that the thing that's made him so popular is he's a beautiful horse to look at. He's a very honest horse, he's a great jumper, and I think that they've fallen in love with him the same as they fell in love with Desert Orchid and Red Rum and all these Arkle, these great horses.
And like any superstar, Best Mate gets his fair share of fan mail.
It never ceases to surprise me what comes through the post and how the postman gets some of the letters here. We had Best Mate England. One envelope just said Best Mate, and it got here and it was only 3 days late. They send a lot of polo mints, that's one of his favourite feeds, and the cards, and a lot of poems. It's really lovely.
It hasn't all been plain sailing for Best Mate. In the run-up to his 4th Gold Cup in 2005, bookies had once again declared him favourite. If he'd won, he'd have made the record books. But just days before the race, disaster struck.
On the morning of his final workout on a gallop about 6 miles from here, just towards the end of the gallop, going up this hill, his stride faltered and he lost his action, and I looked at my husband Terry, we were watching him from the car, and I said, what has happened to him? Drove up to him, and there was blood pouring from both nostrils, and he had broken a blood vessel back in his lungs, and the blood was coming out through his nose.
It was, of course, Henrietta's job to break the news to his owner.
Hello, how are you? And I only ring him if something serious has happened. But the first thing I do when I ring him, because it frightens him, he thinks it's an accident, I ring him and I said, "Hello Jim, no problems," or "Hello Jim, everything's fine," straight away, so that it puts his mind at rest.
And this particular morning she phoned me and said, "Hello Jim," and I was waiting for her to say "no problem," and she didn't say "no problem." So I prepared for the next sentence, which was, "The dream's over for this year."
Now, as one of the highlights of the racing year approaches, the three-time winner of the Cheltenham Gold Cup, Best Mate, has been ruled out of this year's race. His trainer, Henrietta Knight, said he wouldn't run again this season after bursting a blood vessel. Mary Rhodes has the details.
He should be preparing for a record-breaking race next week, but now his trainer, Henrietta Knight, has put him on sick leave.
It was probably the most chaotic day of my life and the most tiring. I felt as though the bottom had dropped out of my world, but then I knew then I had to pick myself up and look forward and look ahead and deal with all the matters at hand, because there was an awful lot to deal with.
But there is some good news for fans and well-wishers. Best Mate is expected to make a full recovery from his illness, and Henrietta is already plotting his triumphant return to the races.
Sunshine, grass and rest. No galloping, no riding. If he's right back to his former self, then he'll be entered for the Gold Cup again, and we'll have one more crack. That's the plan.
In the meantime, he'll have plenty of opportunity to bask in his celebrity status and catch up with his fan mail.
Away, 10 lengths from the leader is Kilminchi Lady. The next down the far side. And there was a
At Worcester, top jump jockey Mick Fitzgerald is getting ready for his first race of the evening.
Not beat-out, am I? I'm not a cross-dresser. They are ladies' tights, but we all wear them because a lot of the time in the winter it just means all your other stuff goes on a lot easier and they keep you warm when it's cold.
Every item of clothing has to be made from ultra lightweight material.
And I got a light short-sleeved polo neck. For us it's all about weight. They're basically very, very skinny, like ballet shoes.
Finally, Mick dons the owner's colours, and it's then the job of valet Andy Townsend to make sure the jockey and his kit don't exceed their maximum weight allowance.
There you go, mate, spot on. Yeah, well, basically, then these are the tri-scales, what we call the tri-scales. We weigh the jockeys on these before they go out to the clerk of the scales to weigh officially.
So now the moment of truth. Did Mick's 45 minutes in the sauna do the trick?
Right, what is 11
stone? Well, 11 stone, 11.2. I'll get rid of a pain, mate, somewhere, all right?
Mick is a fraction over his weight allowance, but there's a simple solution. Lose the lycra. Without it, Mick should be just about okay for the official weigh-out.
Well, that's a perfect thing. Thank you, sir.
Weighing out successfully is a jockey's first step to getting paid.
Each time you ride, you receive a fee, which I think is about 120 quid. But out of that, you've got an awful lot of expenses. You've got to take your ballot fees, your agent takes 10%, you've got travel expenses, you've got your tax to come out of it as well. So you need quite a few rides to help make it pay. But the more rides you get, the more money you earn. The more winners you ride, the more money you earn, because we receive 7% of the winning prize money and 5% of the place prize money.
The favourite here is Alikine at 15 to 8, over the side.
And they're off. Twilight Dancer has the lead on the inside, separated with Ballydoyle Council racing right up with them, also Shady Grey, and then comes Siema. Florence is next towards the outside.
With just under a circuit to go, there's a problem. Mick has decided to pull his horse up.
So this is the fifth from home they come to now, and it's Shady Grey, and Shady Grey is being kept up to work by Noel Feely and is staying on resolutely, and she's going to run these other mares into the ground. Kilone Moonlight is coming.
It's a disappointing result. Mick will still get paid for riding, but he won't be sharing any of the winnings.
Well, that was a short-lived effort. You know, the horse that I rode, Shima, jumped off quite well, jumped the first 5 obstacles really well, and then suddenly went very badly right-handed. I pulled it up because it wasn't just 100%, which, you know, it was a sensible thing to do. If there is a slight injury, hopefully it won't be anything too bad and can be treated accordingly.
Having ridden round the course, Mick now has serious concerns about his next ride for Lambourne trainer Nicky Henderson.
How you going, all right? Yeah. There's been a couple of them taken out already anyway. Because it's drying all day, you know. Up the straight really is the worst bit. It's too risky, you know. If it was beautiful ground, well, you'd have to say yes, but you know, I think it's not. Basically, having ridden on the ground now and seeing that it's just not 100% suitable. This is a lovely horse, this fella, and he's just a real big national hunt type. And with the wind drying all afternoon, the ground's been opened up now, and it's quick enough underneath. So we've decided to take the safe option and take him out. But that was Nicky Henderson I spoke to, so the horse is definitely a non-runner.
No ride, no fee, but there is a chance to change horses. Trainer Henry Daly has heard of Mick's non-runner and he wants to use him in the next race. But with only 15 minutes to go, will the race officials allow it?
No. The senior jockeys are very much in demand, as you can imagine. The top fellas are ones that lots of trainers would like to put up on their horses. If they become available, they try to do so.
Has it been confirmed now? It's been confirmed.
The last-minute swap is on, and Mick will now ride ankles back, an 8-to-1 chance in the 8:10.
It looked like being a very poor day and disappointing with Shima having run so badly and pulling up lame, but there's always light at the end of the tunnel, and thankfully it's Henry Daly.
And they're away, and Navarone led there from Mancy Castle, Gumley Gale, then Jack Marcolon, ankles back on the outside of Personal Assurance.
I love it. I absolutely love it, and I thrive on success, and I thrive on winners. And we are adrenaline junkies, and it is a habit, and we need to feed it. And for us, feeding it is riding winners. Even if it's an ordinary mundane meeting, it gives you a little buzz, and you can't wait to get going. The day I lose that spark, that'll be the day when I say, right, that's enough for me. Because I think unless you've got that, you're wasting your time doing this job.
Despite being one of the older jockeys in the weighing room, Mick has lost none of his enthusiasm. But for today at least, there'll be no winners. Ankles back is nowhere to be seen as the leaders gallop towards the finish.
Motivating Personal Assurance to come through and takes it up and goes on to win it by a head. Personal Assurance from Gumley Gale. Navarone was third and fourth was Mark Equal.
I think, you know, you could say, well, it was a disappointing day results-wise, but it's never that disappointing. You know, when you go home at the end of the day, you can always try again tomorrow, and that, basically at the end of the day in this game, that's what it's all about.
On tomorrow's race country, struggling trainer Mary Meek makes it to the races at last. And the finishing touches are being put to the costumes for the fancy dress show for dogs.